Hey up me duck YouTube, welcome back to another video. Today is the history of your club, episode 10, the history of Leicester City. Not a million miles away from where I'm sitting right now, but still a decent length away. Probably a lot more successful than Derby in recent years, but let's just jump straight into it, shall we? We were formed in 1884 by a group of old boys of Wigeston School as Leicester Foss. The club joined the Football Association in 1890, before moving to Filbert Street in 1891. The club played at 5 different grounds, including Victoria Park's south-east of the city centre and the Belgrave Road Cycle and Cricket Ground. The club also joined the Midland League in 1891 and were elected to Division 2 of the Football League in 1894 after finishing second in that league. In the Midland League, that is. Leicester's first ever Football League game was a 4-3 defeat at Grimsby Town, with a first league win the following week against Rotherham United at Filbert Street. The same season also saw the club's largest win to date, a 13-0 victory over Notts Olympic in an FA Cup qualifying game. In 1907-08, the club finished as second division runners-up, gaining promotion to the first division, the highest level of English football. However, the club were relegated after a single season, which included the club's record defeat, a 12-0 loss against East Midlands rivals, although not at that time, Nottingham Forest. In 1919, when league football resumed after World War I, Leicester Foss ceased trading due to financial difficulties, of which little is known. The club was reformed as Leicester City Football Club, particularly appropriate as the borough of Leicester had recently been given city status. Following the name change, the club enjoyed moderate success in the 1920s under the management of Peter Hodge, who left in May 1926 to be replaced 2 months later by Willie Orr, and with record goalscorer Arthur Chandler in the side, they won the Division 2 title in 1924-25 and recorded their second highest league finish in 1928-29 as runners-up by a single point to the Wednesday. However, the 1930s saw a downturn in fortunes, with the club relegated in 1934-35, and after promotion in 1936-37 and another relegation in 1938-39, they would see them finish the decade in Division 2. City reached the FA Cup final for the first time in their history in 1949, losing 3-1 to Wolverhampton Wanderers. The club, however, was celebrating a week later when a draw on the last day of the season ensured survival in Division 2. Leicester won the Division 2 championship in 1954 with the help of Arthur Rowley, one of the club's most prolific strikers. Although they were relegated from Division 1 the next season under Dave Halliday, they returned in 1957, with Rowley scoring a club record of 44 goals in one season. Leicester remained in Division 1 until 1969, the longest period ever in the top flight. Under the management of Matt Gillies and his assistant Bert Johnson, Leicester reached the FA Cup final on another 2 occasions, but they lost both in 1961 and 1963. As they lost to double winners Tottenham Hotspur in 1961, they were England's representative in the 1961-62 European Cup Winners' Cup. In the 1962-63 season, the club led the first division during the winter, thanks to a sensational run of form on icy and frozen pitches. The club became nicknamed the Ice Kings, eventually placed 4th, the club's best post-war finish. Gillies guided Leicester to their first piece of silverware in 1964, when Leicester beat Stoke City 4-3 on aggregate to win the League Cup for the first time. Leicester also reached the League Cup final the following year, but lost 3-2 on aggregate to Chelsea. Gillies and Johnson received praise for their vision of the whirl and the switch system, a system that had been previously used by the Austrian and Hungarian national teams. After a start of the season, Matt Gillies resigned in November 1968. His successor, Franco Farrell, was unable to prevent relegation, but the club did reach the FA Cup final in 1969, for the last time to date, where they lost to Manchester City 1-0. In 1971, Leicester were promoted back to Division 1 and won the Charity Shield for the only time, usually due to double winners, Arsenal's commitments in European competition. Division 2 winners at Leicester were invited to play the FA Cup runners-up Liverpool, beating them 1-0, thanks to a goal by Steve Whitworth. Jimmy Bloomfield was appointed for the season, and his team remained in the First Division for his tenure. No period since Bloomfield has seen the club remain in top division for so long. Leicester reached the FA Cup semi-final in 1973-74. Frank McLintock, a noted player for 7 years for Leicester in a successful period from late 50s to the mid-60s, succeeded Jimmy Bloomfield in 1977. City were relegated at the end of 1977-78 season, and McLintock resigned. Jock Wallace resumed the tradition of successful Scottish managers after Peter Hodge and Matt Gillies by steering Leicester to the Division 2 Championship in 1980. Unfortunately, Wallace was unable to keep Leicester in Division 1, but they reached the FA Cup semi-final in 1982. Under Wallace, one of the City's most famous homegrown players, Gary Lineker, emerged into the first-team squad. Leicester's next manager was Gordon Milner, who achieved promotion in 1983. Lineker helped Leicester maintain their place in the First Division, but was sold to Everton in 1985, and 2 years later, Leicester were relegated, having failed to find a suitable replacement to partner Alan Smith, who was sold to Arsenal after Leicester went down. Milner left in 1980 and was replaced in 1986 and was replaced in 1987 by David Pleat, who was sacked in January 1991, with Leicester in danger of relegation to the Third Division. Gordon Lee was put in charge of the club until the end of the season. Leicester won their final game of the season, which guided them clear of relegation to the third tier of the Football League. Brian Little took over in 1991, and by the end of the 1991-92 season, Leicester had reached the playoff final for a place in the new FA Premier League, but they lost to Blackburn Rovers, and the penalty from former Leicester striker Mike Newell. The club also reached the playoff final the following year, losing 4-3 to Swindon Town, having come back from 3-0 down. In 1993-94, City were promoted from the playoffs, beating, unfortunately, Derby County in 2-1 in the final. Little quit as Leicester manager the following November to take charge of Aston Villa, and successor Mark McGee was unable to save Leicester from finishing second from bottom in the 1994-95 season. McGee left the club unexpectedly in December 1995, while Leicester were actually in the top half of the First Division, to take charge of Wolverhampton Wanderers. McGee was replaced by Martin O'Neill. Under O'Neill, Leicester qualified for the 1996 Football League playoffs and beat Crystal Palace 2-1 in the final through a 120th minute goal by Steve Claridge to gain promotion to the FA Premier League. Following promotion, Leicester established themselves in the Premier League with 4 successive top 10 finishes. O'Neill ended Leicester's 33-year wait for a major trophy, winning the League Cup twice in 1997 and 2000. And Leicester were runners-up in 1999. Thus, the club qualified for the UEFA Cup in 1997-98, 2000-2001. The club's first European competition since 1961. In June 2000, O'Neill left Leicester City to take over as manager of Celtic. O'Neill was replaced by former England under-21 coach Peter Taylor. During this time, one of Leicester's European appearances ended in a 3-0 defeat to Red Star Belgrade on the 28th of September 2000 in the UEFA Cup. Leicester began well under Taylor's management, topping the Premier League for 2 weeks in the autumn and remained in contention for a European place for most of the campaign, before a late season collapse dragged them down to 13th place. And Taylor was sacked after a poor start to the 2001-2 season, and his successor Dave Bassett lasted just 6 months before being succeeded by his assistant Mickey Adams. The change of management being announced just before relegation was confirmed. Leicester won just 5 league matches all of this season. Leicester moved into the new 32,314 seated Walker Stadium at the start of the 2002-3 season, ending 111 of years at Filbert Street. Walkers, the Leicestershire-based crisp manufacturers, acquired the naming rights for 10 years. In October 2002, the club went into administration with debts of £30 million. Some of the reasons were the loss of TV money, as ITV Digital itself went into administration, and they had promised money to the First Division clubs for TV rights. The large wage bill, however, was lower than expected fees for players transferred to other clubs, and the £37 million cost of the new stadium was really having an impact. Adams was banned from the transfer market for most of the season, therefore, even after the club was rescued with a takeover by a consortium led by Gary Lineker. Adams guided Leicester to the runners-up spot in Division 1, an automatic promotion back to the Premier League with more than 90 points. However, Leicester only lasted 1 season in the top flight and were relegated to the newly labelled Championship, which was previously known as Division 1. When Adams resigned as manager in October 2004, Craig Levein was appointed boss. This would prove to be an unsuccessful period, and after 15 months in charge, Levein was sacked, having failed to get the Foxes anywhere near the promotion places. Assistant manager Rob Kelly took over as caretaker manager, and after winning 3 out of the 4 matches, was appointed to see out the rest of the season. Kelly steered Leicester to safety, and in April 2006 was given manager's job on a permanent basis. In October 2006, ex-Portsmouth chairman Milan Madaric was quoted as saying he was interested in buying the club, reportedly at a price of around £6 million. With the current playing squad, which was valued at roughly £4.2 million. The takeover was formally announced on the 13th of February 2007. On the 11th of April 2007, Rob Kelly was sacked as manager, and Nigel Worthington appointed as caretaker manager until the end of the season. Worthington saved the club from relegation, but was not offered the job on a permanent basis. On the 25th of May 2007, the club announced former Milton Keynes Dons manager Martin Allen as their new manager, with a 3-year contract. Allen's relationship with Madaric became tense, and after only 4 matches, Allen left by mutual consent on the 29th of August 2007. 13th of September 2007, Madaric announced Gary Megson as the new manager of the club, citing Megson's wealth of experience as the deciding factor in the appointment. However, Megson left on the 24th of October 2007 after only just 6 weeks in charge, following an approach made for his services by Bolton Wanderers. Madaric based Frank Burrows and Jerry Taggart in the shared position as caretaker managers until the professional manager was appointed. On the 22nd of November, Ian Holloway was appointed as manager, and he became the first Leicester manager in over 50 years to win his first league match in charge, beating Bristol City 2-0. However, this success did not last, and Leicester were relegated from the Championship at the end of 2007-8 season. Holloway left by mutual consent after less than a season of the club, being replaced by Nigel Pearson. The 2008-9 campaign was Leicester's first season outside the top 2 levels of English football, but they hit this nadir only 7 years before becoming the 2015-16 Premier League champions. The fastest 7 years rise to the top of the English Football League system, apart from Ipswich Town in 1962. Following relegation to the third tier the previous season, Leicester returned to the Championship with a first attempt in 2008-09, finishing as champions of League One after a 2-1 win at Southend United. With 2 matches in hand, the 2009-10 season saw Leicester's revival and the manager Nigel Pearson continue, as the club finished 5th and reached the Championship playoffs in their first season back in the second tier. Though coming from 2-0 down on aggregate away to Cardiff City to briefly lead 3-2, they eventually lost a penalty shootout in the playoff semi-final. At the end of the season, Pearson left Leicester to become manager of Hull City, claiming he felt the club seemed reluctant to keep him, and that Paulo Sousa had been the club's guest at both playoff games, hinting at a possible replacement. On the 7th of July 2010, Sousa was confirmed as Pearson's replacement. In August 2010, following an agreement on a 3-year shirt sponsor deal with duty-free retailers, the King Power Group, Mandarich sold the club to Thai-led consortium Asian Football Investments, fronted by King Power's groups Vichai Srivandhan Prabhuha. That is a really hard name to pronounce, so I'm really sorry about that. I actually need to go and charge my device, and my charger's next door, so I will be back in 2 minutes. Alright, so sorry about that. Just, these things happen. You forget. But here we are. Mandarich, an investor in the AFI, was retained as club chairman. On the 1st of October 2010, after a poor start that saw Leicester finish Leicester bottom of the Championship with only 1 win out of the first 9 league matches, Paulo Sousa was sacked by the club with immediate effect. 2 days later, Sven-Goran Eriksson, who had been approached by the club after the 6-1 loss to the then bottom of the table Portsmouth earlier, replacement, signing a 2-year contract with the club. On the 10th of February 2011, Vichai Raksiriakasorn, part of the Thai-based Asian Football Investments Consortium, appointed new chairman of the club, after Mandarich left in November to take over Sheffield Wednesday. Leicester were viewed as one of the favourites for promotion in the 2011-12 season, but on the 24th of October 2011, following an inconsistent start, with the Foxes winning just 5 out of their first 13 matches, Eriksson left the club by mutual consent. 3 weeks later, Nigel Pearson returned to the club as Eriksson's successor. Pearson would go on to lead the Foxes to a 6th-place finish in the 2012-13 season, ensuring Leicester win the Championship playoffs. However, Leicester lost the playoff semi-final 3-2 on aggregate to Watford after Anthony Knockaert missed a late penalty and Troy Deeney scored right at the end after a swift counter-attack from Manuel Almunia's double save. In 2014, Leicester's march up the league system hit a breakthrough. Their 2-1 home victory over Sheffield Wednesday, combined with losses by Queen's Park Rangers and Derby County, allowed Leicester City to clinch promotion from Premier League after a 10-year absence. Later that month, a win at Bolton saw Leicester become champions of the 2013-14 season, the 7th time they had been champions of England's second tier. Leicester started their first season in Premier League since 2004 with a good run of results in their first 5 league matches, starting with a 2-2 draw on the opening day against Everton. The Foxes then claimed their first Premier League win since May 2004 with a 1-0 win at Stoke City. On the 21st of September 2014, Leicester went on to produce one of the greatest comebacks in Premier League history to beat Manchester United 5-3 at the King Power Stadium, after coming back from 3-1 down with 30 minutes left to score 4 goals. They also made Premier League history by becoming the first team to beat Manchester United from a 2-goal deficit since the league's launch in 1992. During the 2014-15 season, a dismal run of form saw the team slip to the bottom of the league table with only 19 points from 29 matches. By the 3rd of April 2015, they were 7 points adrift from safety. This could have brought a sudden end to Leicester's 7-year rise, but 7 wins from their final 9 league matches meant the Foxes finished the season in 14th place with 41 points. They finished the season with a 5-1 thrashing of relegated Queen's Park Rangers. Their upturn in results was described as one of the Premier League's greatest ever escapes from relegation. They became only the 3rd team in Premier League history to survive after being bottom at Christmas. The other 2 were West Bromwich Albion in 2005 and Sunderland in 2014. And no team with fewer than 20 points from 29 matches had previously stayed up. On the 30th of June 2015, Pearson was sacked, club stating that the relationship between Nigel and the board is no longer viable. The sacking was linked to a number of public relations issues involving Pearson throughout the season, with the final straw involving his son James's role in the racist sex tape made by 3 Leicester reserve players in Thailand during a post-season goodwill tour. Leicester reacted by appointing former Chelsea manager Claudio Ranieri as their manager for the new 2015-16 season. Despite an initially skeptical reaction to Ranieri's appointment, the club made an exceptional start to the season. Striker Jamie Vardy scored 13 goals over 11 consecutive matches from August and November, breaking Ruud van Nistelrooy's Premier League record of scoring in 10 consecutive matches. On the 19th of December, Leicester defeated Everton 3-2 at Goodison Park to top the Premier League on Christmas Day, having been bottom exactly 12 months earlier. A 2-0 victory at Sunderland on the 10th of April, coupled with Tottenham Hotspur's 3-0 win over Manchester United, ensured Leicester's qualification for the UEFA Champions League for the first time in their history. Leicester won the Premier League on the 2nd of May 2016 after Tottenham threw away a 2-0 lead against Chelsea, drawing 2-2 at the Battle of Stamford Bridge. This completed the fastest 7-year rise to the title, except for Ipswich Town in 1962, as mentioned earlier. Bookmakers thought that Leicester's victory was so unlikely that Ladbrokes and William Hill offered odds of 5,000 to 1 for it at the start of the season. Neither bookmaker had ever paid out such long odds, and the trophy resulted in the largest payout in British sporting history, with a total winnings of £25 million. The scale of the surprise attracted global attention for the club and the city of Leicester. The Economist just declared it would be poured over by management lessons. Several commentators have viewed it as an inspiration to other clubs and fundamentally transforming the expectations similar-sized clubs face in English football. Leicester became known for their counter-attacking style of play, incredible pace in the areas it is most essential, and defensive solidarity. Former boss Nigel Pearson was credited by several pundits and fans as having laid the foundations for Leicester's title-winning season. Players were often praised for their work ethic and togetherness, which was apparent throughout the squad. Reacting to City winning the Premier League, Executive Chairman Richard Scudamore said, "If this was once in every 5,000-year event, then we've effectively got another 5,000 years of hope ahead of us." A film has been planned of the story, centred on Jamie Vardy. Leicester, while performing well in the Champions League, struggled domestically during the 2016-17 season, spending much of a few months in the bottom half of the table. In December 2016, Ranieri was awarded Coach of the Year and Leicester's the Team of the Year at the BBC Sports Personality of the Year. However, on the 23rd of February 2017, Ranieri was sacked due to the club's continuing poor form, resulting in them being only 1 point above the relegation zone. The sacking was met with significant upset and anger from the media, with Gary Lineker calling the sacking very sad and inexplicable, while Manchester United manager Jose Mourinho blamed it on selfish players. Rumours began emerging some days later that players had been meeting with the owners to discuss Ranieri's sacking. without Ranieri knowing, which sparked widespread outrage over the social media, but these were never proven. Craig Shakespeare took over as caretaker manager, and in his first match in charge, Leicester won 3-1 against 5th place Liverpool, with Vardy scoring a brace. In his second match as caretaker, Shakespeare led Leicester to another 3-1 victory over Hull City, following 2 impressive results and initiating the type of positive response that we hoped change would bring. The club's owners then decided Shakespeare would become the club's manager until the end of the season. The 2016-17 season was also the first season in 15 years that Leicester qualified for European football. Leicester were placed in Group G of the 2016-17 UEFA Champions League, alongside Porto, Copenhagen and Club Brugge. In their inaugural Champions League campaign, they went undefeated in their first 5 matches to progress to the knockout stages as group winners. The Foxes then faced La Liga group club Sevilla in the round of 16 and defeated the Spanish side 2-0 on the night and 3-2 on aggregate to advance to the quarter-finals. There they faced Atletico Madrid and drew 1-1 in the second leg, but lost 2-1 on the aggregate after losing 1-0 in the first leg. This put an end to Leicester's 2016-17 campaign, and they finished as Champions League quarter-finalist. Despite the loss, Leicester remained unbeaten at home in the 2016-17 Champions League. Shakespeare, having impressed during his caretaker spell, was appointed full-time on a 3-year contract. However, following a poor start to the season, he was sacked in October 2017 after 4 months officially in charge, with Leicester in 18th place in the table. He was replaced by former Southampton boss Claude Puel on the 25th of October 2017. By Christmas, Leicester were in 8th position in the Premier League and went on to finish 1 place lower at 9th at the end of the season. Despite rumours that Puel would leave, he remained at the club for the next season and performed well. However, the team suffered a poor run of games in 2019, which saw Leicester suffer 4 successive home defeats. And following a 4-1 home defeat to Crystal Palace, Puel was sacked on the 24th of February 2019, with the club in 12th place. 2 days later, on the 26th of February 2019, former Liverpool manager Brendan Rodgers was appointed as his replacement. They finished the season again in 9th place. On the 25th of October 2019, Leicester recorded a 9-0 away win at Southampton in the Premier League, the joint largest win in Premier League history, and the largest away win in English top-flight history. Despite being in the top 4 for most of the season, Leicester finished the season in 5th, their second highest Premier League finish in their history, in addition to securing a Europa League place for the following season. Club owner Vijay Srivadhanaprabha's helicopter crashed outside the King Power Stadium shortly after taking off from the pitch on the 27th of October 2018. This killed, unfortunately, Srivadhanaprabha and all 4 other people on board. And I hope I express my deepest for all those related to him, as I'm sure it still ponders in my mind every day, and all them Leicester fans. But I thank you for watching this video. The second part of the Best English, the EFL Young Player Award, will be on Sunday, and the history of Liverpool. I know a lot of fans of Liverpool are out there. So I'll see you, that would be on Thursday, and I'll see you later.